This video is sponsored by Incogni. It's a great service I've been using to protect my privacy on the internet by taking my personal data off the market. To sign up, simply go to incogni.com/companyman, and the first 100 people to use the code companyman will amazingly get 60% off. The link is in the description. Jollibee is a fun name. It's a chain of fast food restaurants that is mostly known for their signature fried chicken dish that they call Chicken Joy, one word. They describe it as delicately hand-breaded to be crispy-licious on the outside with a secret marinade making it juicy-licious on the inside. That is such a unique description, and it has been named the best fried chicken by the website Eater in 2022 after they put it up against all these other popular brands in an extensive bracket process. If any of that made you want to go out and get it, that may be difficult as of right now, unless of course you are in the estimated 1.5% of people watching this from the Philippines, because that is where Jollibee originated and is still the most popular. Though they have been making an aggressive push into the international market. There are currently almost 1,600 Jollibees that could be found in 17 different countries around the world, but I want to zero in on the United States for a moment. That is where most of the people watching this are from, and it is going to be an increasingly important area for them moving forward. See, they opened their first US restaurant back in 1998 in the San Francisco area, and over the last 25 years, they have grown to 72 of them, 31 of which are in California. However, if all goes according to plan, they will be opening hundreds more of them within a few short years, and potentially many more after that, considering their CEO has identified North America as a key growth market. It has already been gaining traction, exemplified by how Newsweek placed them on their list of America's favorite restaurant chains, and by how there was such a positive response in 2022 when they opened their flagship store in Times Square. They had 2,500 customers on the first day, some of which were camping outside of it for 12 hours before the opening. Not to mention their plans to continue expanding throughout Europe and other areas as well. See, the Jollibee fast food chain is owned by a larger company called Jollibee Foods Corporation, JFC, not to be confused with KFC, and that company has major involvement in over a dozen other restaurant brands found throughout different parts of the world. I will be talking more about that later, but they have expressed that their long-term goal is to become one of the 5 biggest restaurant companies in the world when measured by market capitalization. Now, market cap is determined by the stock price, so it's always fluctuating for everybody, but right now, it's looking like they're worth around $4 billion, placing them a little bit outside of the top 10, and to break into the top 5, they would have to grow about 5 times larger, which is considerable. I think that shows how ambitious they are and how aggressive they are going to be in expanding the Jollibee brand and the overall reach of the rest of the company. Okay, that was a lot of information about a company that you may have just heard about for the first time right here, but I hope you are starting to believe that Jollibee may be expanding into your area sometime soon. For this video, I want to continue talking about Jollibee while identifying some of the biggest reasons behind their growth and success up until this point. Starting off with the founder, Tony Tan Kakseong. I apologize for that pronunciation. I'm doing my best here, but he is the person most responsible for shaping this company. Serving as CEO for the first 30 plus years and still serving as chairman of the board, he is now a billionaire and, in my opinion, an inspirational success story. When he was young, throughout the 1960s, he worked at his father's restaurant. His father had immigrated from China to the Philippines where he started his own business, and the whole family would work together to operate it. Kakseong earned an engineering degree, but soon after graduating at 22 years old, he switched his focus right back to the food service industry. His family had saved up the equivalent of $6,500 that he used to buy 2 ice cream parlors under a franchising deal from a popular chain called Magnolia. After a couple of years, he had opened more of them, and so many customers were requesting that he start selling hot food and sandwiches. He finally added them to the menu. They proved to be more popular than the ice cream that he was serving, so it motivated him to transform all of the ice cream shops into a fast food concept. That concept was called Jollibee, and it is already leading me to the second reason on my list, the menu. A big part of the growth for any fast food restaurant, but like I said, changing the menu is what sparked the idea for Jollibee in the first place. In the beginning, their big menu item was the Yum Burger. The following year, they added a popular spaghetti dish called Jolly Spaghetti, and then the year after, they introduced their iconic Chicken Joy. I mean, that was a good streak of introductions, locations, considering that in the Philippines, those remain their 3 best-selling items. Things were pretty crazy back then, because in the early 1980s, when Jollibee only had 10 locations, McDonald's was planning to enter the Filipino markets. I don't have to tell you that McDonald's is huge. Even back then, they have such a proven system that is hard to compete against. Whenever a major chain like that enters the big cities in a new country, that is bad news for the existing local chains. People were advising him to sell Jollibee to McDonald's. That would have been the easy decision, but instead, he came up with some effective ways to compete against them. He traveled to the US, studied the McDonald's restaurants, and took notes about what made them so appealing. When he returned, he adopted a lot of those ideas to his restaurants, notably the style of the uniforms, the atmosphere, and that bee mascot. That's where he originated. I mean, that is pretty cool, right? Jollibee's mascot is literally a jolly bee. Plus, compared to McDonald's, he was so much more in tune with the local tastes, so the menu items were designed specifically for people in that area. For example, the spaghetti is much sweeter than you would find almost anywhere else, and it is topped with ham and hot dogs. So by the time McDonald's started opening up restaurants in the area, I think people just saw them as a lesser version of Jollibee. By 1985, they became the #1 fast food chain in the Philippines, and it has remained that way ever since. In 1989, they became the first fast food chain in the country to surpass 1 billion pesos in sales, and today they are steadily approaching 200 billion pesos, which converts to something like $3.5 billion. For the next reason on my list, I want to talk more about the Philippines, because you might not understand just how big they are over there. Jollibee controls more than 50% of the fast food market, meaning Jollibee is more popular than every other fast food restaurant combined. It has practically become part of the country's identity because it intentionally mirrors different parts of the Filipino culture. For example, the cheerful nature of everything, down to the names of the items, reflects politeness and hospitality. Their advertising promotes family togetherness, as well as the scent of the food, which is also a big emphasis in the culture. That mascot is a bee because it represents hard work. You know, bees are hardworking, and that bee has become one of the most recognizable symbols in the country. In fact, throughout the years, most of their core menu items have been advertised by their own mascots, such as Mr. Yum to represent the Yum Burgers. Some of these characters even came together in a children's TV show called Jollytown that aired for 6 seasons starting in 2008. The association with the country is so strong that historically, when opening new restaurants in the United States, they have done it in areas with strong Filipino communities, like that first one that opened near San Francisco in Daly City. It tends to be a comforting place that reminds people of their home country or their culture and their heritage, so a big hurdle has been getting people unfamiliar with the culture to enjoy the restaurant, you know, to expand the brand beyond the Filipino community. And as I showed earlier, there is some strong evidence to suggest that it has been reaching a greater demographic and may continue to do so. My final reason behind the growth of Jollibee is their involvement in other chains. I told you I would talk about this because most of that $3.5 billion in sales did not come from Jollibee restaurants. They came from one of these many other restaurants that they are involved in. Truly, there have been so many of them over the years, probably too many to talk about all of them, so I'm going to do my best to stick to some of the more relevant ones here. In 1994, they bought the majority of Greenwich Pizza. It is a 270 location chain in the Philippines known for selling pizza and pasta. In 2000, they bought a Chinese food restaurant called Chowking that has over 500 locations in the Philippines and 17 of them in the United States. In 2005, they bought a bake shop called Red Ribbon with, again, over 500 locations in the Philippines and 39 of them in the United States. After seeing this, I have to mention that their best-selling item is this delicious-looking Black Forest cake that I've never had, but now I want to. In 2010, they bought the majority of Mang Inasal, best known for their chicken, with, again, over 500 locations in the Philippines. The following year, they bought the majority of BK Titans, who today operates 125 Burger King franchises in the Philippines. Now, I want to get back to the expanding near you part of the video. JFC has set a goal for themselves to have half of their sales come from foreign markets, meaning from operations outside of the Philippines. And again, they have been aggressive in making it happen. That ratio has steadily been growing to a point where it is getting pretty close to that 50%. The rest of these acquisitions are for foreign companies that have been helping tip the scale that other way. In 2012, they bought 50% of Highlands Coffee, and then more later. It is a major coffee brand in Vietnam with over over 600 locations. In 2018, they took full control of Smashburger after having bought a minority stake in it 3 years earlier. I always think of that logo that they used to use that was oddly similar to the one for GameStop, but they are a hamburger chain with about 250 locations in the United States. The following year, they bought the majority of Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf for $350 million. It was their biggest acquisition yet, with over 1,000 locations in 20 countries around the world, including 200 of them in the United States. Finally, in 2021, they bought the majority of Milkshake. It is a bubble tea chain from Taiwan that operates 280 locations globally. Yeah, so JFC has been expanding their presence all over the place, and it might just be a matter of time before they make their way into your area, if they haven't already. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about Jollibee? For anyone who has had the opportunity to eat there before, how was it? And do you think that the appeal can translate to different countries around the world, specifically the United States? It looks like that is a main market that they are going to be pursuing, but it is awfully competitive. Do you think that their Chicken Joy is good enough to go up against KFC or Popeyes or any of the others? Also, what do you think of the company, JFC? Do you like their strategy of acquiring these various brands, or do you think that they should focus more on the Jollibee concept itself? What do they have to do to accomplish their goal of becoming a top 5 restaurant company? And any other thoughts you have about Jollibee, leave them in the comments. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Incogni is the sponsor of today's video, and I am excited to tell you about them because this is an important service. You may not realize that there are thousands of companies out there collecting, aggregating, and trading your personal data, most commonly your email, home address, phone number, even your employment history and shopping habits. That means that the most expected actions, like signing up for a store's loyalty card, could lead to endless amounts of spam emails or even your information being leaked online after a data breach. It's all disturbing, right? It really makes you want to reach out and ask them to delete that data that they have about you, but that can be aggravating and time-consuming considering how many there are. So that is where Incogni comes in. They will reach out to these data brokers on your behalf requesting that your personal data be removed, and they even deal with their objections. Every week, they send me a progress report about the requests that they have been sending out. My most recent one tells me that they sent 180 of them, 139 of which are completed, while 41 are still in progress. To sign up, all you have to do is go to incogni.com/companyman, and if you're among the first 100 people, you can use the special code COMPANYMAN to get 60% off. The link is in the description. Thank you for watching.